Hello, traders. Looks like an inside day today. Looks like the markets are trying to digest some of the big moves we've had in the markets. This is a very healthy pull. Well, it's not even actually a pullback, sideways consolidation. We could do this for a couple weeks and it would still be great for the markets going sideways consolidation. Um, so just keep that in mind. We need days like this to start building value to keep from falling completely out of bed in these markets. Basically, we're just trading inside of value here, right at the yesterday's VPOC. That was the developing VPOC for today, and we're just pretty much hanging out at the high point of value of yesterday on the ES futures. And we have our Qs, and basically we are selling a little bit. We're trading a little bit below, showing a little bit of relative weakness at this moment in time, relative to yesterday on the Qs. And we do have Micron reporting after hours, I believe. So start seeing that's a slight tidge of weakness in the Qs today. Internals, we do have a negative. We had negative on the S&P too. The advanced decline, it was worse on the S&P, but it's a little bit less there. And at this moment in time, the ticks seem to be a little bit weaker on the Nasdaq versus the S&P. And then finally, the Russell. Yeah, the Russell. Russell's really been showing some relative weakness compared to yesterday. We put the value up at higher levels for yesterday, and we completely, at the end of the day yesterday, we rejected it. And that level of close yesterday is where we've been trading pretty much all day today. And this is a worrisome situation because you got a very, very tight range going into tomorrow. So just keep that in mind. Right here, right now, it looks like we are trying to push to the upside on the Russell. So it does seem to be an awfully too tight range. So if we push out to new highs here, we could actually start seeing squeezes in the markets to the bullish side. So we'll see what happens here on the Russell. But this one here, it's, in my opinion, trading in too tight of a range. And by the end of the day, we should most likely see a move up or down out of this range. So keep that in mind. The internals are looking a little bit better than the other indices on the Russell. So that is something, might be a potential tell that the markets are wanting higher for the rut going into the close today. Okay, on our advanced declines here in the S&P 500, as you can see, we are pretty well equal on the advancers versus decliners. Pretty much a neutral day today. And also keep in mind we do have the VIX futures rolling over Wednesday. So that puts a natural bid under the markets because the VIX futures are not bidding them up into the rollover typically. Then you have your NASDAQ. You're absolutely flat, almost dead even on the NASDAQ versus advancers versus your decliners. So just keep that one in mind. You do have some of the FANG names really outperforming today, Netflix and Amazon. And as you can see in the Russell, we do have more advancers than decliners. This is actually a little bit more bullish than what we're seeing in the other indices. So just keep that in mind. We have saw that what seemed to be an over trading near the bottom of the range versus yesterday. So that's something to keep in mind here. We might be getting a Russell squeeze into the close. Okay, I had two overnight trades. One of them was Bank of America puts. I thought the bonds were going to catch an overnight bid or catch a bid because they were dramatically oversold as of yesterday. And that's exactly what happened. And wouldn't you know it, right after the market opened, they just completely dumped the bonds. And what was a winning trade in Bank of America, I didn't act fast enough, and it became one of my big losers for the day. So live and learn. I was distracted doing other trades and didn't realize how fast it was coming in. But keeping an eye on these bonds here, we're potentially going to break a. I don't have the line drawn here, but breaking a trend. There's a trend right here, potentially setting up for bonds breaking down, that could even drive the markets to further upside in that situation. Okay, some of the trades, and then I had some Apple puts thinking we were going to back test the breakout of the range yesterday, and it came pretty close this morning on the trade, and we were above the we went above the market maker move yesterday, and it came in, but it didn't come in far enough. So I did have a slight loss on the Apple puts. They weren't doing exactly what I wanted, and as you can see here, it was putting new all-time highs again today. So still some bidders under that, and that's even in the face of bad news, because the iPhone sales are supposed to be down 30% out of China. It came out today, the news, and they don't care. So here you are above market maker move for the week, and you get that news. I mean, typically any other stock on the planet would just completely crash back down, and you probably see a $6 move on it. But not Apple. You got people; they keep buying and buying and buying. It's amazing how things, when they become popular, how the sentiment changes. My first trade of the day was Nvidia, and we do have Micron earnings tonight, and all kinds of analysts. There was two more upgrades today, I think, for Micron to the upside. So it's absolutely priced to perfection going into the numbers tonight. So it might go up, it might go down, but I sure as heck couldn't trade it. I'll just wait till tomorrow and see what's going to happen. I had room here on the market maker moves for Nvidia to go higher, so I did right out of the gate today. It was called out in the room. Nvidia to the long side. I think had a lot to do with the Micron numbers, and AMD, and they were all getting bids in the pre-market session. So a lot of interest in the semiconductors just to start the day out, and looked really pretty darn bullish. And I took a really nice profit on Nvidia earlier today. Trade today. I also traded Baba. They were partnering up with some another competitor, and I was seeing some early market action in the pre-market, so I went and took some calls, and wouldn't you know, it comes crashing down on me in my face. So down here near the lows of the day, I made a because I just barely, whenever I first get in a trade in the morning hours, I just barely go in a third or less of my position, and then I finish it later. And the value area lows, I added some, and then down here near the lows, I added more. So I ended up hitting a pretty good trade on this Baba, but it was because of not just jumping in with every share right off the bat. It was managing the trade, and that way, if it goes against you, you can generally, a lot of times, you can get yourself out of the mess if you make a bad judgment call on a trade, because you know, even if it goes against you in this situation. Okay, and that's pretty much what I did today. And then we had Amazon. Amazon, I was looking at it around 11 o'clock, and it looked like it was showing getting a little weak there, and we were coming right off the market maker move high and a resistance line and a trend line. And as you can see here, there was quite a bit of resistance right here on Amazon. So I did initiate right up through here. I did initiate some puts, thinking we might get a quick responsive sell-off again back to 1777. Well, it just didn't do it. It came back up, and it took me out about break even on the trade. But the logic here is the same. We are into resistance. Like I said, the trend line was acting as resistance as well. And we were maxed out on the market maker move for the expected move for this week. So having those three things I was pretty confident taking the trade, even though the trade did not actually work out for me. So, but uh, it's nice to have multiple things to look at if you're taking trades to the long side or short side. Okay, and okay, okay. Another big trade in the room for the overnight session, that was Boeing. And I personally did not take the trade. I'm not saying I'm glad that they made their money and it turned out to be a great trade and everything. But according to my charting here, we closed right near this trend line. We were outside the market maker move for the week, and we had significant support down the 322.35 area. And with those three things in my opinion, it was a higher risk trade that there could be a short squeeze. This is every bit as much risk, if not more, a short squeeze to the upside in an overnight hold situation. So I didn't take that trade. Well, it turns out they come out after hours and announce that they're officially cutting production of the Max plane, and it drove the stock down in the after hour session. And the guys in the room made a really nice little trade on that. And what happened though, uh, once we came back the second time through on this Boeing, we got a massive short squeeze in the Boeing. And it had a lot to do with this being outside of the market maker move for the week. Okay. And that's what that can be a magnet for oversold situations. So now, right now, we're trading right back into that trend line that we broke down from yesterday, finding a little bit of resistance. And I don't know for sure if it should be trading up at these higher levels or not, given the level of the news. But this whole candle here, in my opinion, is a short squeeze, and so and we may just roll back over and just fall bear flag out and eventually break down, which, in my opinion, given the severity in the news, and especially if the market turns south, that's the scenario that I would be looking for. But that explains to a lot of people that why the market, why Boeing did catch a nice rally today. It was largely a short squeeze, and the computers realize this situation, and they don't they initiate all the time. They'll initiate a squeeze like this to take traders out of the trade. Roku was another one that this morning I was looking at, but I got busy, so I didn't get back to it. They had some BS news about the CFO leaving the company, and you can read in the headline they had already planned him leaving. He had another job opportunity or something, and so he had been looking for a replacement for himself. But the headline was that he was leaving the company, so the markets panicked and sold off in the overnight session. And of course, the room they were all going long off this really strong volume into the close of the day, thinking we were going to get a breakout. Well, they all got really taken to the woodshed today, and most of those guys are still underwater. But we came right down to this trend line and found immediate responsive buying. So this is still not that bad of a chart. I mean, especially what's going on here. I wish I'd have been watching. That would have been a great the 133 would have been a great buy point to go to the long side. So if these markets do continue to hold in here, I can see Roku really taking off here. And if you can see, you got kind of a downtrend line here. Another day, and we're going to be starting crossing. We're going to be tagging that downtrend line. So something to keep in mind. I don't actually have the line drawn there, but there is like a little downtrend, and there's a good chance in a day or two we're going to be crossing it. And Roku loves to move once it does break those trend lines. I didn't realize how long the video was getting, so I'll try to speed this up. Netflix had the news came out. Basically, they just recycled most of the news that they had in their earnings report. They just broke it down to where we could see exactly where the growth was happening and what regions of the world, international, Latin America. They broke it all up. They just repackaged their earnings release, in my opinion. but the markets love it. They short squeezed it, yeah, and just taking it to the moon here. Um, but I read the report, and it was pretty much all the information in there was just recycled from the earnings report. They just broke it down to, uh, you know, supposedly to give more clarity, and it's more like they were just trying to pump their stock, in my opinion. That's what the news. It really felt like that's what they were doing with it. They were just rehashing old news to pump the stock, which that's exactly what they managed to do. Um, and what can you do? You know, it's a cult stock, it's quite a bit like Tesla, and things like that's going to happen. I don't trust a swing long. This is a bearish. Um, it has been in a bearish downtrend for quite some time, so this is very risky. Taking it to the long side swings, in my opinion, for Netflix. And that's it. My video is getting longer than normal. There were some others I wanted to talk about, like Tesla, and but running out of time here. And I do want to talk about one last chart, and that's the DAX. In my scans, I always try to keep an eye on the major indices going into the overnight session to make sure to hedge my risk scenario. As you can see, this is a momentum shift. This is more of a bearish cross momentum shift. We closed right on that line today on the DAX, suggesting that and this is a reversing pattern, three candle reversal pattern. Oh man, I didn't even realize that. And so the DAX is showing a significant sell signal going into the overnight session. So I would be very careful on your long positions if you are day trading going into the overnight. Thanks a lot.